Hi there, I'm Andrew Knott, Director of Coaching at Sing Elite Golf Performance Centre. I'm here today with Frank Roos, one of my students who I've been working with for a while. He's just going to give you some feedback on the way that I go about the coaching and how well it works. Thanks for taking the time to come and speak with us today, Frank.
You're welcome.
Just want to ask you, when you first came to see me and I talked about going to the golf course first, what was your reaction? How did you feel about that as a different way of going about coaching?
Firstly, I thought it was a little bit odd because I have a coach before, and there you just line up, take a few bucket of balls, and you hit the balls, and you adjust your swing and try to make your swing better. So I was like skeptical about it, but it came out to a big advantage. I found out later, realizing a month later or 2 months later, I think it took before I really got around it. Because what Andrew actually was doing with me, he was assessing how my game was, the flow of my game. How did I hit the balls? How do I react to the whole thing when I for example, had a bad shot? How was my approach afterwards to that? And in the session afterwards, because I went in on a 10 hours program, and so he was addressing what he saw walking 9 holes with me, and he was not changing. He was changing my swing. He was making my swing better, but he was actually taking me from where I am and utilizing what I had already, and not saying, okay, you need to do the perfect swing, but he was working with what I had. So gradually things improved, and my handicap came down to around what is I'm now. I'm 11.8, and I've been down to 9.8, working with him coming from 19. So for me, it was the approach Andrew had to how to work with a person like me has been really, really great, but also sometimes very challenging.
Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, like, that's true. Like, hopefully we do challenge. It's never an easy road improving on anything. So there's always going to be some challenges to what we do. But I think the key I'd like to highlight there, you said when you came to me, your handicap had gone up to 19.
Yes.
You had originally been around about the 13, 14 mark, if that was correct.
Yes, before.
And the goal was simply really to get back to that 13, 14 mark. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
But we've ended up overachieving that, even without kind of necessarily that being the goal. Would you say that's correct?
That's very correct.
Okay,
very
good.
affirmative for that one.
And what? Just on the last thing, in terms of, yes, I know from our discussions, this scoring has been. It's nice to be shooting those scores, but the key, I think, for you was more the enjoyment of the game. And what would you say would be the main one thing or characteristic that we've done that's really helped you enjoy your golf game more again?
I think that's actually a very tricky question, because what I do enjoy about the game is, I always call it the perfect shot. And Andrew, you always laugh at me when I say that. And you also laugh at me when I say, how can I make this better? How can I make this better? What is the right swing, and what is the right approach to hit a ball like this? And you always answer me, it depends. There's no real right shot. There's no real, as long as you hit the ball and you get the ball to move to where you want it, then you more or less, in principle, are hitting the right shot. And what I like about it is actually that, for me, it's a challenge, and I like the enjoyment of actually practicing that come back into the game, and yeah, I really enjoy it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks very much for your time,
welcome.
Frank. I'm sure that helps all the people out there that sometimes may have a doubt about this idea of, let's start on the golf course and assess and put some real context into what we're going to change, rather than just changing what we see on the face of it.
Yeah,
So
it's a completely different way of starting up, and it's the first time I tried it this way. Because I said before, just a bucket of balls, and then you hit the balls, and then the coach would tell you, oh, this is wrong, this is right, oh, you have to do this and that. But here you got like a more holistic approach to the whole thing, and I highly appreciate it, I must say.
Cool. Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Sometimes the goals that we set and the things we want to achieve aren't just about winning. Sometimes the goals are about hitting certain numbers. I'm going to be speaking in a minute and getting feedback from one of my students, David Yang, who set out to pass his Thai PGA qualification and become a member of the Thai PGA, which is a really distinctive goal-setting exercise of trying to hit a certain score over 4 rounds as opposed to playing for a tournament and winning. David, thanks for joining us today, and firstly, big congratulations on achieving what I know was a major landmark goal for you in your golfing career, and wanting to become a professional golfer. I wonder if you can just share with us one of the real key aspects of what we put in place over the last 3 months to allow you to have the chance to shoot that score and to qualify for the Thai PGA membership.
I think first of all, I tend to get really caught up in my technique, and when I hit a bad shot, maybe drift my focus away and start losing confidence and commitments. And one of the major change in focus is to change from my focus on technique and change it to focusing on routines, my focus on the shot, and staying in the moment.
Yeah, sure. Look, I mean, it was a big challenge to be able to make sure you're 12 over par or less for 4 rounds, which you did comfortably, having shot 1 under on the first day and then 6 under on the second day. Was a key aspect of being able to focus on each shot one at a time. What were the main routines that we would do? Was it simple, or was it like hard to do what was focused on?
It was. Most of it are usually very simple.
So the ideas are simple.
Yes.
What about the actual practice of doing it?
The actual practice, it's more like tough. Like I have to really get my focus, get my head inside to it.
So it's more really that the idea of what we need to change is not too difficult, but the discipline required to make sure that you do it and you stick to that is where the challenge really falls. Okay. So again, the big benefit for you, that being able to assess your game on the golf course and your scoring really allows then to focus more better and tightly on what you're doing when you come to practice as well. Okay, good. Well, good luck for the rest of the year. Good luck for your first few tournaments as a professional. Hi, I'm here today with Matthew Sneath, one of my students who I've been working with for a couple of months. Matthew and I started from a slightly different position to how I normally do. We started with our first lesson around the chipping green because Matthew had a very specific issue he came to me with, which was poor chipping and a little bit of the chipping yips. But as soon as we did that, we went back to the traditional way I like to go around, which was on the golf course. So Matthew, thanks for joining us today. I'd just like to ask you kind of a bit about your experience, about how you felt we went through, first of all, the first issue, but then how you felt about the benefit of going to the course and, in hindsight, what you do.
I think obviously I had the problems with the chipping. It was noticeable on the course. I was getting quite frustrated with what was happening on the golf course, and the scores were reflective of that. We had a specific need that I needed to work on the chipping. We solved it very, very quickly. And then moving on to the golf course, I found that the course lesson and the chats afterwards really helps with the overall outcome of my golf.
I think that one of the big things that we picked up was kind of almost irrelevant point, but turned out to be quite big, was on the 16th green when we were playing. We were going to putt, and you'd already noticed this guy watering the green.
Yeah.
And it really distracted you and put you off from putting. And when I spoke to you afterwards, I said, well, the other guys that we played with, you happened to be playing with some of my pros. None of us even noticed the guy was there, and it just highlighted how attention can be distracted.
Yeah.
You got any sort of feedback on that and what you learned from that?
I think that kind of helped me later on when you've got a greenkeeper working next to you. It's they're there to do a job. You just to ignore it and just focus on the shot at hand and just deal with the situation you've got, rather than trying to make I think I was trying to make excuses for what might have happened, rather than executing what should have happened.
Cool. And then just finally, where do you feel your game is now? How do you feel about your game and your scoring with the work that we've done? And obviously we're going to continue doing that, but where we're at and what would kind of be the biggest thing that you're happy with at the moment?
I think my overall game has improved dramatically since I've come to here. My scores are much more consistent. and I feel much more comfortable on the golf course with every type of shot, whereas before I'd probably get a little bit nervous and over certain types of shot. I'm pretty comfortable on the golf course now.
Fantastic. Well, thanks very much for your
Okay.
time. I'm sure that people listening will be keen to come out and get on the golf course following that.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. One of the hardest things to learn to do in golf is to win. But that's what most of us are out there trying to do. Whether we're playing with our friends or whether we're professional golfers, we want to win at golf tournaments. And that's what part of our philosophy here is, teaching you how to score low and how to win events. My name's Andrew Knott. I'm the Director of Coaching at Sing Elite Golf Performance Centre. And today I'm going to be joined by one of my students, Namchok Tantipokakon, who won recently on the Philippine Golf Tour Asia. Namchok, thanks very much for joining me today. And firstly, a big congratulations for your win last week.
Thank you.
I just want to ask, like, we've worked together for a while, but what do you think is the most important things that we've done together that's helped you to get back to winning?
By watching me play, not just assessing my swing and have understood and my strength and weakness.
Okay, great. So us having spent time on the golf course together and watching you meant that we've been able to sit down afterwards and work out what are your strengths and weaknesses. But how has that helped you to shoot lower golf scores and get into a position to win like it did last week for you?
I can plan how to play the course to my strength and also have system to handle my weak area.
Okay, fantastic. So what we know, obviously, without going into too much detail, is that the big strength of your game is your long game. How you hit your tee shots, you're very long and straight, but more importantly, your iron shots are very crisply struck and accurate into the greens. However, maybe there's an area of weakness that you can share with us of what you do and the system you use on that area of weakness.
Yes, is my putting. I can sometimes get confused by the line. The system I now use is simply to say hit what I see.
Okay, great. So that's something that we worked on back in the Philippines a few years ago when I caddied for you, when we just said, look, just hit what you see and keep it simple, which freed you up to hit the putts. Okay, so hopefully you can see here how the work I've done with Namchok fits in the philosophy that we've talked about in other videos, that once we've studied someone's game and seen their strengths and weaknesses, once I've looked at them on the course, it's much easier to work out how they're going to shoot lower golf scores. I'd like to say a big thank you to Namchok for his time. He's off again next week to play in another tournament in Chiang Mai. Wish you the best of luck for the rest of the season. Thanks for your time. And for those of you who now want to share and understand the way that we work and to get some evaluation on the course, just contact us and we look forward to seeing you soon.